Hello, people. I was actually, when it got to zero, I actually didn't see it. So, listen, I got a few things to discuss. We're going to have some guests here. But one thing that I want to, I'll wait a couple minutes before I talk about the other thing. But one thing I would like to say, I did a show yesterday about Delacroce, and right away I got hit really hard. People thought I was gonna insult him. But today you'll understand I'm not insulting him. I'm going to show a document that actually shows that Delacroce was not even close to being a snitch. It was kind of a setup, and then it was misreported. I'm going to have Tom LaVecchia coming on to discuss it because Tom LaVecchia did a show with John Panisi, and that wound up in an article about it because Persico was in it too, and Persico was accused of being a rat. And people, it's very easy to believe stuff in the media. And as we know with our media, we can't trust it. Period. Plain and simple. Just look what's going on right now. Okay, I'm going to read some of the people that are here right now. Let the show build up a little bit. Brooklyn guy, I see you in here. If you come back, if Vinny comes back in, just let me know so I can drop him the link in a little bit so he could jump in here. Bill Jordan, Enzo the Baker, Gianni Russo, Ollie Boy, NB, of course, Texas Ranger, Joey Electric, wrong number. Let's see, Neutral Drop. People, Neutral Drop has a really good channel, a pretty big channel. And it's, if you like cars and stuff, it's really interesting. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I went over and took a look at it and some videos and stuff. I really actually liked it a lot. Joey Electric, The Westies, Turd Bird, James Weldon, Redzilla, Anthony Ramondi, of course. Wrong number. I think I'd call you, but what the heck? Do Brown's in town. How you doing? The Westies, Bill Jordan, BK. We have two new wrenches. BK is one of them, just so you do know. Okay, let's see. And also Gianni Russo. Simping ain't easy. How you doing? Okay, we'll get here to the bottom. Matt Collier. Matt, I'm going to give you a wrench. I'll do that before the next show. Just so you know, when this show is over, I'll go over and put a wrench in for you for next show. Thank you. I appreciate your loyalty. Johnny Two Cheeks, King Wrench, Peasant Pockets. Lee, what's up? I can't stand for platform and rats content creators or not, but you can't stand the same people. I can't stand, so we're all good. Thank you. Jane Perry, how you doing? Keeping it old school. Texas Ranger. Gazo 72. Boy, we got a bunch of people in here already. King, let's see. And that's it. For another thing I want to talk about, I seen something brilliant. Somebody did a show recently, and they had a wig on. And they were mocking somebody. And I thought it was very, very funny. It was one of the funniest shows I have ever seen. So I like to thank Josie for coming up with that idea about wearing a wig. Josie, good job. But, you know, your little thing was stolen yesterday. But the guy that stole your idea actually has kind of a penchant for stealing shows lately. I did a pizza show. He followed it up. Did an highlight show. He followed it up. And now he follows up the wig story. But you know something. You have to understand. He's down to very little material. He doesn't have much material left. So now he's at the point of taking other people's material. So we got to respect that. Okay? He's a little bit challenged when it comes to coming up with stuff. So, you know, just ignore it, people. Just call it, when he redoes our shows, let's just call it a bad production of what we do. It's like a B movie. So if you want to see a good B movie after the stuff's done here or by Josie, go watch the B movie. That's it, right, people? Okay, I got that out of the way. I just gave him another show for the night. You know that, right? So we with a smile, nothing angry, nothing. Okay, let's take a couple more of these. Okay, what else? Okay, we did the introductions. We got Tom's going to be coming on in a couple minutes, and Joe lives the life. You know, I had to wake him up out of bed. He might have lunch instead of dinner, and then he'll show up here. But anyway, Tom, how you doing?
Very well, Lee. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, okay. I forgot to have my mic in front of my face. Okay. So, I wanted to talk to you about something. A couple days ago, I pulled up this Persico document, and then I pulled up another story. And in the story, it basically talked about when you did a show with John Panisi, and they were kind of rough on the story because I felt like it wasn't accurate. And we talked about it we talked about it, and I wasn't going to come on and just do the show without you saying what you had to say.
Yeah.
And I think your explanation is pretty solid, and we'll get into that in a minute. But
yeah.
I just want to show you guys something that's okay. So the Persico documents came out, and it had two names in it. It had Carmine Persico, and it had Neil Delacroce. And I'm going to pull it up right now and let you guys see it. And this is the document right here. Okay. And in this document, it has, let me open this up a little bit. Can you see that properly, Tom?
Yeah, I see well enough.
Okay. So in this, it has anything that has a number next to it is supposedly an informant. So if you go through, this is page 6, and then when it goes to Joseph Lucchese, and then let me show you the other names down here: Vincent Iola, Harry Fontana, Frank Fusco, and it also has on it Neil Delacroce and Carmine Persico. Salvatore, how would you say that name, the last name? Masaccio? Masaccio. John Odo and Carmen Persico is right there. But here's what the person that pulled this up and wrote this story I don't know if they got hustled or if it was just bad reporting, but all these names have the same. Let me show you this. They all have the same informant number, NY3461/C/TE. So this report came out and had all these names on it and called them all snitches. But the problem was that they all had the same number. So it's impossible for them all to have the same number.
Correct.
It's obvious that's, so. And then, Tom, when you did the show with Panisi, it brought up the Persico thing.
Yeah.
And what would you like to say about that deal in general?
So, well, there's a few things. So the originator of this story is Larry McShane. Larry McShane writes for the Daily News in New York. He's kind of like the Jerry Capici of the Daily News. He's been around a long time. He stood over Castellano's body as a reporter. So he's been in the game for a minute. He wrote a few books. Some people kind of debate on one was a Chin, another one, I forget the other name. But he wrote pretty successful books, and he writes in the mob space for a very long time. And again, historically for the Daily News. So the piece he came out with was based off of a brief by David Schoen. David Schoen and I understand him to be the attorney for Victor Arena. They're trying to get compassionate release. And obviously, as a defense attorney, he's going to do the best job he can for his client. So part of that brief was to cite a document which you showed, which cited possibly that Carmine Persico was an informant. So the story broke on the front page of the Daily News. Obviously, it was newsworthy, and it was on the front page of the Daily News. And then we had reached out to Larry McShane, and he was the first interview that he did. It happened on a Monday in the summer. Literally, like, woke up, we reached out to him, and by noon we did a live with John, not a live, but a pre-record with John Panisi and myself, and that's kind of what set all the events out. There's more to it. I'll get into it in a second, but that interview kind of set a lot of other events afterwards, and it made a little bit of a wave.
Right. Now, one thing I like to say, someone said that Justice Tech Pro already talked about this.
Yeah, so he talked about part of it.
Let me finish one. I'm sorry, Tom. I just want to make the people that I put you on timeout, the people that told me that, because yes, just because someone else does a show doesn't mean that Tom was on that show. Tom's on this show to talk about it. Everybody gives their different story. So if you're here to say I got you, or it's a story that's already been talked about, don't do it, people, because this is a separate story. Just listen to it. If you don't like it, leave. Okay, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So when we dropped the story, we dropped the interview. It was a breaking news story. It was based off the New York Daily News piece. The title was, let me just pull it up. Title was, sorry, give me a second. New York mob boss Carmine the Snake Persico was top echelon informant, papers reveal. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little tricky. So the papers that he worked off of, again, was a brief submitted by David Schoen, who was Vic Arena's attorney. So that's was kind of like the baseline, right? Then from there, they cited three things, one of which JTP addressed. The first was the top echelon informant document, which you showed him and I think had two defense attorneys on, who kind of plugged a lot of holes in that. And then there was also other inconsistencies in the document that that had the same, what is it called? Informant number attached to each. So obviously it's not four different informants if there's just one number. So they kind of plugged holes in that, right? The second thing is in the document, Schoen went to the DOJ, met with them, and allegedly they confirmed the document's integrity. And then again, the program as well. So by them meeting with them, I don't know if they explicitly said Carmine Persico was an informer, but nevertheless, they used that to kind of build a document. The third piece of the puzzle that, again, was in the document submitted by Schoen, that there was an informant who wasn't named. That's what's interesting. Typically, Freedom of Information Act, or this day and age, informants are disclosed. In this particular case, the informant that was mentioned, that in terms of what they said was on record, but they didn't identify the informant, was also as well. So this was kind of the body of work that David Schoen submitted to the judge.
I'm sorry, who's that number? Which informant did that number actually go to?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
People believe it's Scarpa's, but I think that was before Scarpa's time.
And who actually put out this report for the paper to pick up? I mean, it's
David Schoen did it as a brief in court papers and submitted to the judge for formal consideration. Okay. Now, mind you, just like anything else, this was done by a defense attorney. So very often you got to, claim it, take it with a grain of salt. But remember, Larry McShane is an experienced writer, top echelon informant, papers reveal. Well, the papers reveal were done by a defense attorney in defense of his client. So that what makes it kind of, gray area. And again, the informant, the last part I wanted to say was the informant that identified Persico as an informant was never revealed. So that also, I think, was further hurts the case. Where we got really beat up at the time, and John and I did the show, is we broke the story. It was fast moving. It was fast paced. Larry came on, and then, it was literally that day. So afterwards, there are parts of the story that there's a lot of holes punched in, right? So what happened on our side was we took a little bit of a beating. Again, we just presented what Larry presented, and we were looking for kind of a suitable person to counteract with that and say, hey, no, he's not. But there was other shows kind of doing it on their own respectfully. And then John and I decided, John has a blog. So if anybody's like, oh, you guys are screwed up, you guys are one-sided. No, we wrote a blog, or he wrote a blog that kind of like said, hey, if it's not true, it's not true. And we kind of gave our kind of joint statement. So we pointed people towards that. In much respect, we probably should have another show with another expert saying, hey, this was not true. But I called Larry today. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. I called Larry myself today, and they stand by it. They stand by what they posted.
So despite the fact that they know what's wrong, they're still willing to say Persico and Delacroix were on that list.
In this report, there's no indication that Delacroix was, but in this report, given the information on top echelon program, again, read differently by different people, by him meeting directly with the DOJ, and then by having information from an informant, that he felt was enough to compel the judge to give consideration to his client. I think.
What do you personally think about the fact that they won't reverse the story? No corrections on it.
That's what's tricky about media. It's you have information that's credible, right? If it, like, for example, let's say it was not true, and you submit it to a judge, that puts the lawyer's reputation at risk. You can get debarred. But the same token is, it's kind of like, was he informant? Well, I can't prove that he is, but remember, you can't prove a negative, so you can't prove that he wasn't. So I just think it was kind of lawyery tactics that got picked up by the media. He did the next day or 2 days later. There was obviously some outcries where I think Anthony DiPietro and another attorney, I think Mari, vehemently denied this. They tweeted about it. They did some media, and he also posted their information and their backlash 2 days later in the Daily News. Now, again, you know how it works. Once you shoot the first shot, then you say, oh, hey, we're sorry. Hey, whatever, the damage could be done. But again, when we unfortunately had to pull down the episode, but we wanted to make it very clear. If there was paperwork, black and white, then it's probably true. But we just didn't have time, given the rapidity of the story, the quickness of the story. We didn't have time to really review it as much as we would like. That's why we went directly to the source. Now, again, Larry McShane is and has been historically a very reputable reporter.
But I'll tell you what, I did a lot of research on this. I couldn't find nothing anywhere that would suggest that either one of them were working as informants.
Yeah, the Neil thing is.
I'm sorry, these two guys are like legends. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they were bad men, but they were legends amongst mobsters. And to come out like that at them, especially after they're dead. I mean, the original story on Neil Delacroix came out right after he died in 1985.
Well, the reason the Neil thing hasn't been proven, especially with the internet and a lot of informants over the years. If he was, it would have came out. So I think Neil at this point was a dead issue. Anybody who knew him, it's pretty much a dead issue. The reason why he got resurrected for Carmine Persico, or at least came out for Carmine Persico, was because they were seeking compassionate release. And part of their argument was, or is, that the war between Persico and Arena was a stacked deck. Not only did you have Persico through Lillian DeVecchio kind of help out a little bit through FBI resources, allegedly, because DeVecchio was considered innocent, but allegedly, because I don't want to get sued, that also allegedly that Persico, being a top echelon informant, put this as a one-sided war, which put Vic at almost like, hey, kind of like the old guy defending himself. And that's what the first defense attorneys are supposed to do. But walking away, and after some thought and consideration, although I respect Larry, I really like Larry, I understand why he doesn't want to recant. I think that there's not enough credibility. There needs to be more evidence for them to point out that Persico was an informant, which I don't believe he was.
Okay, and DP says this all came out because of the Vic Arena appeal. Is that
correct? Correct. David Schoen, correct.
And that's what I love about people here. They're so knowledgeable. And yesterday when I did the show, a lot of people got upset, but I knew which direction I was going with the show. But what I wanted to ask you is, okay, so you and John Panisi, you had your break. That's personal. I'm gonna keep that out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your break, but then you have your show Did you ever say to yourself, look, I'm going to do a show on this. I'm going to clear my name up at least. I don't want no part of this.
Well, to be clear, what happened was that Larry McShane broke the story, right? So at that point, it was front page Daily News.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
King Wrench, there's no way in hell, no one said we're here clearing it up. Okay. So if you want to talk that shit, you know where you can go, right? Okay. I'm sorry. That's just one of the
So you bring a great point. So again, to be really clear, and unfortunately, this show is down, but anybody who knows me or watches the show, I like to go right to the source or right to the expert. If I'm not an expert in something, just like you seek out an expert, because otherwise it doesn't have credibility. So it was released by Larry McShane in the Daily News. We were fortunate to get him on the same day it came out. So that was meant to be, hey, Larry, what do you feel? Well, I feel he was a rat. Well, why so? We went through it and we gave a pretty extensive interview. But by having somebody on, and this is clear because people in Mob2 conflate this all the time, just because you have somebody on doesn't mean you align with their beliefs or what they say. You're reporting as a podcaster. But at that point, we released that. Now, afterwards, there was a bunch of shows, JTP, I think probably MTR probably covered it. A few other guys that said, you know what, there's no way, and this is why, and I respect why they did it, and they were probably correct. In retrospect, yeah, probably John and I could have said, hey, we evaluated everything, we disagree with it. We just couldn't find the right expert to come on to dissuade it. It gets very tricky because then you might get a defense attorney that for maybe Persico that may have, an agenda as well. So how we handled it probably could have been better. I was thinking when I had my own show to kind of address it. But again, we never endorsed that he was an informant. It just was a matter of we had Larry McShane on. So there wasn't really anything to retract on our side as well.
And that's the one thing, well, many things, but one thing I do give you credit for is when I call you and talk to you about it, you don't run and hide from things. You take it directly on. And that's the way people should do stuff. And it's greatly appreciated that you're doing this right now.
I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
And, you and I, one thing we do have in common, we believe in interviewing people. If people don't like them, we'll still interview them.
Well, I did talk to Larry today, and I'd like for him to come back on the show. I asked, does anything cooking, maybe a book, or generally people do media when they're promoting something. If there's value to have him back on the show, maybe you could jump on as a co-host and we could kind of ask him about it. But he didn't retract, and kind of it is what it is type thing. So there's not a ton of value of trying to be like, I gotcha. It's like, hey, I wrote it, I stand by it. And again, he did post an article 2 days later sharing the opinion of the opposing counsel. So I hate to say it, but it looks like it's a dead story. So if we would have Larry on, it would like to be probably for something else.
And so basically, you're saying also MTR and
I know JTP did. I'm assuming
JTP
because he's pretty knowledgeable.
And if you guys did stories on it, great. And the reason I'm doing my story today is because there's a lot of people that still don't know about it. People send me this stuff and I'm like, then I start researching it. And a lot of things surprise me. The Neil Delacroix thing really surprised me because people still believe it. And it was from 1985.
Well, here's where it gets tricky. So on one end, this document was discovered through Freedom of Information Act. If it was like a smoking gun, it would have been covered a long, long time ago. So you kind of have different people, the different kind of mobologist journey, right? So there's some people that are overseas, they might have access to certain things. They may not know what's going on. They may not be current, but they love mob history, right? So then we're like, oh my God, Neil's a rat, or Neil was a rat, which he's not, but they'll want you to report on it because it's interesting to them. And there's a lot of people kind of like you and I who believe he wasn't and kind of know it's an older story. There's always been rumblings about it. It's good that you did report on it. Sometimes you need to kind of tie up loose ends. But there seems to be not as much knowledge that he was, because it wasn't true, but there are people that are still interested in it. So the truth of the matter is, I don't believe Neil was by any stretch, and I also don't believe in Carmen after further evidence.
When they come out after Neil, that's like going after John Gotti and trying to put that label. There's just certain people you can't put that label on.
Well,
That's how I look at it.
the truth of the matter is, anybody watching this, the mob got smarter. If you really look at it, I don't know of any notable turncoats since John Panisi. Turncoats against the mafia or Cosa Nostra. So there's a lot of guys that are making money. They're out there. They're less violent. They're doing their things. The government is putting a lot of resources away from the mob. So I think to an extent they're flourishing. I don't think they're even in the top 10 of threats anymore when they used to be like one or two. So it's like, you know what, what is it to talk about, right? You can't really talk about it, nor want to talk about current people. And if you do, it's probably kind of boring. So what do people do? They go back and they try to find drama where there's not.
And I had somebody talking to an actual mobster, a guy that went to prison and stuff, and he made the statement yesterday to this person that the mob was totally dead. What do you think about that?
Not true. So I'll just give you some anecdotal stuff.
Okay.
The first is when prior to me going on the show with John, I was just never. I was never a big Lucchese guy. I didn't know much about him. I kind of knew a little bit about the Jersey crew. You hear the name, the Pernas, the Tessettas, prior to me, Tumac, Ricciardi. In terms of Lucchese's, being an Italian American, you kind of run into some of them or some of their family. So I kind of knew of the Lucchese's and the Jersey faction, but I just wasn't as a mobologist, I wasn't a big Lucchese guy. So I obviously wanted to brush up on Lucchese's. I kind of wanted to check John and his situation out. And you would go and you would see like released in 14, released in 15, released in 16, released in 17. And there's a lot of guys on the street from the Lucchese's, a lot that probably more on the street made and doing okay, with probably other 115 allegedly in the family, probably only 15 or 20 in jail. And bids are not that long, with the exception of a few, of course. But so that just tells you one Borgata alone is doing pretty well, and they're making 4 guys a year, right?
And so what do you think? What do you think that? Okay, you can't go on the street now with cameras and do the old stuff, of course. So what do you think it is the mob does now that they weren't that now that wasn't being done, say, 20 years ago?
Yeah, so there's evidence that they're still going to do bookmaking, they're still going to do shylocking, they're going to do the kind of the part and parcel stuff. When I worked with John, he kind of said they got out of like the prostitution business, nor was Lucchese's specifically were always big in construction, really big in construction. And then I think prior to that, they were in the H business, back then in Harlem and stuff in the Bronx, and then garment industry as well. But in terms of like the modern day mob, they make their money off of, again, bookmaking, loan sharking. And then they're involved with legitimate businesses, and a lot of them are hybrid. So you may be like a construction company where you're kind of milking and juicing a contract. You may have a contract to get the school cafeterias, and they're $150,000 a year contract, and you're giving 10 schools, and you got to pay it back to the person who got it, or you own that business. Most of the guys that I kind of knew growing up, a lot of them are out in jail. They're older now. And they're like kind of quasi legitimate. So like that fear of like them beating you up or getting hurt and that kind of stuff may have fell to the wayside. You don't fear them as much, but they're also still very powerful. They're still capable, right? They're just probably not going to kill you for no reason.
Okay, I'm going to put the link out for Tommy Stiggs if you want to jump in here, Tommy. Okay. Okay, so do you think that they're more careful now, or because now you're at a point where it's easier to be caught and it's easier for there to be a lot of evidence against you?
Well, let me give you an example. Look at the Genovese family. They do it correctly. They have a decentralized management, almost like terrorist cells, right? So everybody works in their own cell, need to know. You and I could be in the same crew, and we don't even know if you're made or not, right? So it's limited information on who to affect if you turn. Number 2, they're making money. And number 3, they're powerful. So the Genovese family is a perfect example on how the mob should be and how the mob thrives in 2022.
And right now, if you had to say which family's doing the best, which one would you say?
Genovese by far. And then the Sicilians took over for years now in in for the Gambinos, and I think Frank Cali getting killed was a big setback. He was related. He was married to Inzerillo, Pete Inzerillo's I think sister, and that point in Sicily the Gambinos, the Spatola and Inzerillo clans are all together. I still think there's a heroin pipeline. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to talk about current stuff. They still make a lot of money. They're still involved with the business. The Sicilians took over. Frank Cali and those guys took over. Lorenzo Bonino and a few other guys. And they're doing it the way they do in Sicily. It's low key. It's part of the fabric of society. And you just treat it much different than Americans do with Cosa Nostra.
It seems like the Genovese have always adapted with the times.
Correct.
And the businesses. Why do you think the Genovese have done it so much better than the other families?
Longest and consistent leadership. From Lecce Luciano to today, they probably had maybe 4, maybe 5 bosses at most. Versus the other families got as much as 15 or 20. Think about it, right? John Gotti, who was a super powerful boss and performed probably the most important coup in all of mob history, only had a 6-year run on the street. Imagine if he was out for 25 years. Granted, people don't like his management style, but he knew what he was doing to an extent in terms of being a powerful boss. So if you gave him 25 years, the Gambino family would be much different than it is today. The Chin had 25 years. Lombardo had 25 years. Bellomo has 15 years. You know what I mean? Like Luciano had 20 years. So Genovese had 20 years or whatever. Genovese had less, but and they also had the prime minister Costello. So the lineage of the West Side or the Genovese family has been consistent over this roughly 100 years. That's how you win, by consistent leadership, knowing what you're doing, decentralization. And the other part is John Panisi always told me, whenever you see something happening with money, the West Side was always involved. So if there was a big concrete contract and there's a company and a Lucchese guy went to go see them, if there was big money, odds are they were on the West Side. And they also got involved with the right rackets. I always say this about the mob and people give me shit. If I was a mobster today, which I'm not, I would look at where I can make the most money, where I can serve the least amount of time, right? Stock fraud, you got to go away for 3 to 5 years. Union tampering, maybe going to take 10. Gambling, you're going to do 5. So when they do get caught, which is rare, when you remember the last large scale or ever Genovese indictment, it's been about 20 years, when they do get caught, the sentences are less.
Now, the Chin's oldest brother, did he just pass away?
The priest or Mario?
The oldest brother. I just got something that said he just passed away.
I look for Mario. Because Mario was involved with the family, and the brother was a priest. Well, I mean, Mario John was born in 1923, so if he's alive, he's older.
He just passed.
He's alive. And then the other one is a priest. Some people think he was involved too, but I don't think so as a priest. That's Lewis.
I believe Mario just passed away, and he was like quite old.
Yeah, 1923. So he had a good run. When I interviewed Anthony Arlotta, again, he was, I think, a soldier there. Bruno was his boss, and he wasn't even able to tell his own boss that he was made, right? But he did deal with Mario Gigante, and Mario Gigante was part of a rotating triumvirate of capos or kind of a street front bosses. So even he didn't know who the boss was. Anthony even said when he was made in his underwear.
Well, the one that just passed away was a captain.
Yeah, again, they don't know. That's the point. The Genovese operate differently. Mario could be the capo di tutti capi. You don't know. He could be the big boss. You don't know. That's the point. Like even Anthony couldn't see. What happens is when you have the decentralized cell system, right? Again, which terrorists often use, respectfully, not respectfully to terrorists, but in terms of how the organization is structured, is if you go to inform, you're limited to maybe your boss and perhaps people that you have business dealings with. Versus, with John Panisi, he was with a crew. He was with the Brooklyn crew. They'd have cigars together. They would eat together. They would do business together. So when the exposure point for somebody like John was bare minimum, his whole crew, his boss, and he had access to the administration, there's no Genovese social clubs, like not anymore. You don't go to like some social club and hang out with the boss. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, Anthony, Joey Electric. Yeah, did they just put it out about Mario? Actually, I've received some pretty solid information that he did just pass away. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I was asking you, Tom, because you're pretty much on top of this stuff.
I haven't. Hold on. I haven't heard that yet. To be candid, I'll check it post interview. I haven't heard.
Okay, so I just want to put that out there, and Tom will
I'll check
confirm it. But it looks like he did pass away.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, you got to be careful, you know, when you say things, because I got a couple people that told me recently that Vinny Asaro passed away. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk about it. And then someone got a hold of me at the very last minute before I was about to do the story. No, he did not pass away. So I was about to come out and say Vinny Asaro passed away. I learned my lesson with that. You know, so Vinny Asaro is still, he might be fragile, but Vinny Asaro is still in this world. So
I just want to answer Diddy real quick. I had to brown out the one we did. I spoke to Anthony not that long ago. I might work to get him back on. Stay tuned. What's really tricky is I did a lot of interviews with a lot of people.
Are you saying you're going to get Anthony Arolato back on?
I reach out to him. He didn't commit to it, but he may come back on. I'm going to see. But what's tricky is I've done a lot of shows with MB and Buttman, and even though I browned out the content, like if I have somebody back on, I bring in feedback like, oh, they were already on already. I remember your old show, and you kind of get shit for it. So I'm trying to balance out, trying to create like new content, so it's a little bit more fresh. But I may have them on. We'll see.
So how's your Karen Gravano interview going?
I think she's in Vegas, so we just have nailed down a date. I love her to death. She's very hard. Like Ramona was easy to get on. Hey, let's do it tonight. She's more flexible. Karen has, Karen's a little more media savvy. She's done a lot more media. She's a little busier. Not that Ramona's not busy. So we're doing it. It's committed. We just got to nail down a date. That's a challenge about having an interview-focused show. Is if you rely on the people you interview, it's tough sometimes to get together. So Karen should hopefully be, either we'll do a live or filmed over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I'm learning about when you set up interviews doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah, some fall through. Some fall through.
Yeah, they do. And we're in a genre here where people are very vicious. And I will tell people in my chat, like that don't like certain podcasters here, if you know that they're going to interview somebody, please don't go trying to ruin their
interview. That part I've heard of that. I think it actually happened to me. I don't want to give details. Now you're kind of into I'm like you, that's not a big part of my income. So maybe I take it less offensive. But now you are interviewing someone with somebody's livelihood, right? This could be big, could be bigger. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of big names on the show. I've worked really hard. I've been doing this for 4 years. So generally when people see who I interview, they say, oh, shit, this guy's pretty serious. Let me come on a show. But I've had situations where people were going to come on and I announced it mistakenly, and people reach out to them and kind of sour the water. But most of the time I got them back over time. But that, to me, even if my worst enemy is going to have somebody on, I would never interrupt.
What happened to Bay 8? His name was on the thumbnails. I just talked to him a quarter of. I told him to jump on here. He's still not here. He may have fell back to sleep. Who the hell knows? Not all of us are lucky where we could sleep 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But anyway, let's see if he shows up. He is committed, so we'll see. Okay, so let's get back. What do you think about? And you know what? I know you may not want to talk about this, but it has to be talked about.
Okay.
What do you think about this stuff going on, especially yesterday? And I wasn't even involved in it, which is unusual. And
usually you are.
Yeah, but it was some hard. They were really going at each other. I get the feeling that like you got to do show. Like here, I'm doing a show today, a pretty serious show. We had a serious discussion, and now we're going to jump onto this. What do you think about what happened yesterday? And you know what I'm talking about, with all the shit going back and forth. And it seems like there's one content creator that wants to keep this going. And we know who that is. So what do you think I mean, is this what we're going to have to do now? Because this content creator doesn't want to drop this. This is what he does. This is his show.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up. So I'm gonna give you what I physically seen, because I'm out of the business of if like I'm sleeping or I wake up, or when I wake up, I get emails, texts. You see what so and so said about so and so, or did you hear what somebody said about you, or did somebody, hey, like Luciano, you get all these different things, right? And I would say 9 out of 10 times, if you take the time to watch what they watched, they're wrong, or they interpreted it the wrong way, or it wasn't as bad, right? Remember, I'm like you. I'm a free market guy. I'm a free speech guy. So if somebody wants to say something negative about me, if it's true, or if it's their opinion, that's okay. So I tend to be a little bit more wider on the scale of what I'm willing to accept, because I'm a free speech person as well, just like I will exercise my free speech. So, so what I'm getting at is there was kind of a few different things that happened yesterday. The first is one creator jumped on a show, addressed another creator, and then abruptly jumped off. And I think, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that if this creator stayed on and they talked a little bit more and kind of hashed it out, I think they would have been at a good neutral point. So I think there was a misunderstanding on interpretation of what person A said and what person B said. Number two, I still think a lot of these things should be handled. If you're doing it for views, God bless. If you want to do that and you have that kind of show, I'll salute all day long. I don't do that. You can. But if you don't, and you have hey Joe, and you have a legitimate beef with somebody, call them privately and say, hey, I heard you said this. I want to address it directly with you. Just like Joey says, if you got a problem with him, give him a call and address it directly. And 9 out of 10 times, it could be settled in one conversation. So I think that's part of the issue here.
Well, not with this guy. I've done that. I've literally called him a few times where something was about to happen and talked to him, and he said okay, and then he goes on and does his show and tears me apart. So some people you can't do this with.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to speak in generalities, because I don't want 3 shows made about me later, and nor do I care, to be honest. If you have a show that just bashes somebody, and it's not topical, and it's not engaging, and it's not interesting, you're gonna cap out. Why? Because if somebody new stumbles upon, let's say the old league, right? Because you're trying to change your spots, you definitely did. You did run the content, and you say, hey, you know what? I pop on Lee, and he's roasting somebody else. Well, if I don't know who that person is, I'm gonna go off. But if you talk about Persico or Neil or whatever, wow, this guy talks about mob stuff. Let me subscribe and stay on. So if you notice certain accounts, I'm not going to say which ones. I'm not even certain ones, but you pick. No, just certain accounts, and you can check it yourself. The trajectory really kind of plateaued because they're sticking and towing to the line of, well, we're going to continue to bash. Now, if you sprinkle an interviewer or two are there, that's not going to save your channel, right? What's going to save your channel is having new, fresh content. That's what it's called, evergreen, that I can look it up now and that it shows up. I just checked this morning. I have 25,000 views in the last 2 days. Most of it is from content was from a while ago. That works as a residual for me, right? But if this person respectfully doesn't, and the other part too is like heroin, you keep chasing that high. Oh, I do a show, and then like I get some views. Oh man, I do another show and I roast somebody, I get some views. Well, it gets old. You run into people to roast, and people get bored and they move on. So I just feel this shows that if their whole dynamic is to be the roast of the people, it's not going to sustain in the long run, and their shows are going to plateau if they haven't already.
And talking about plateaus, Joe, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
What's up, Joe?
And so I might as well bring you in on this. You were a big part of this yesterday, and one thing
Part of what?
Part
of what?
The being attacked, and well, you were defending yourself.
Attacked?
Yeah.
Who attacked me? I don't think anyone.
I'm not going to mention no names here. That's what he wants. I'm not going to mention his name. But what I'm saying is, your channel. You said yourself.
Oh.
You said yourself yesterday that when you stood up for yourself, fought back, you picked up a bunch of subs. So what do you think about that? What do you think that when you're here, you're busting your ass doing your show, but you got to start yelling and fighting to get people to join your show? Do you think that's just because that's what they expect from you because that's your style?
Well, first of all, what I'm doing, talking to the people, is not working my ass off. It's actually pretty cool, you know what I mean? So I'm not like putting in, I spend hours, but other than that, I mean, it's like hanging out with your friends more than anything, So I don't really have the stress of like when you're working, or you're a boss or whatever, and you have, heavy is the head that wears the crown type shit. You know what I mean? Up until this point, I'm just talking to people, and that's pretty easy to do. But as far as people attacking me, there's two ways of looking at it. One way is, I could get offended and cry. Or two, I'm going to have to start like, for example, so I reached 500 subs. If that's a milestone for me, then I got to thank all the people that hated on me and gave me that free press.
And Joe, it is a milestone because you did it quickly. You have to remember that you got people on here for years that don't ever get to 1,000. So you're in the right direction. You're going to get there, and you're going to get there within a couple months. So you are definitely going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lee, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You've been doing different types of content. You had some fun bashing people, but then you also had some, interviews. You do some monologues. You kind of
Now, when we say bash people, remember one thing: I defend myself.
No. However, right. So whether if the perception is you bash and it's based off defense, tomato, right? So what I'm saying is you have different categories of shows. I know you were very up on your numbers. What are your top one or two types of shows? What does the best and what does the second best?
Certain people do really well. People may not like Sammy Gravano, but he does well. People might feel a certain way about Francis. I'm going to tell you one thing, and this is what a rat said to me. Well, I don't even want to call him a rat, an informer. An informer says, people may hate us, but they want to hear from us. And he's kind of right.
So here's the thing, right? So you're looking at the mob genre, right? And this is one of the only like kind of spaces, whether you like it or not. And again, people have their moral constitution. Some people are like, you know what? We push back. We're hardliners. We will not support anybody who is first party. We're in the life. If they give information, I want nothing to do with them. And I respect that. Because again, free speech, I respect that, right? And there's some people that are just regular people that are obsessed with mob stuff, and they can hear it directly from theoretically the horse's mouth. So that's what makes this genre interesting, is you can get people that were in the life that are speaking about it. I think it's crazy because, 20 years ago, this would have never happened, right? 30 years ago, forget it, right? Then on top of it, what does it say about the mob? The fact that it's kind of carrying on unencumbered. So to me, it's so crazy.
Well, if you did this 20 years ago, the odds are the following day, no one's going to know where you are.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Would you say that, Joe? If guys were doing this shit 20 years ago,
possibly.
Imagine if John Gotti's your boss and he wakes up and he opens up the internet and there you are talking. I mean,
I don't.
It's not going to be a pretty ending.
I don't think that would do well.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys died back in the day because they talked too much about or said something to the wrong person? Not even going, here you're going on and talking to thousands of people. I have a small show here, but I average 27 to 2,800 people per video. You average how much? Like 10, 15,000, Tom?
Well, would be. My average is around 7 because I'm migrating to some business content,
right?
Which I love doing, and it's a lot more meaningful. But my business content does not do as well because I'm not known for it. So 7 is the average. But my mob content, it could be as high as 15. Especially like the Sammy video is just went over 76,000. Just that one video.
I noticed that, and so Joe, what do you think when I'll give you an example. A rat says to me, "People may not like us, but they want to hear from us." What do you have to say about that?
I think it's true for the most part, because there's people from all over the world that could listen to this. Well, so I guess it interests people, but if you want to consider this the mob genre, or I don't know what you want to call it, but
I don't know what to call it either.
It's going to go as good as the content creators. So if you have good content creators that are a little more charismatic, and don't just like the monotone or whatever, then I think that's going to open up new lanes and more people get interested in the genre. And I think that would be important moving forward. I mean, I don't know all the content creators who's out there. Some of them are, are good. Some are, just not good, but, so,
And so, what do you think happens the day someone like Gene, for example? We all know that when he was on, people wanted to hear from him, and he did great numbers. You can't take that away.
right.
And so he comes back. Say, certain date he comes back on. It's going to upset the whole structure, don't you think?
Not at all. It might even bring new people to it. You got to look at it that way.
And have you ever interviewed Gene, Tom?
No. Oh.
I did.
And what kind of views did he get you?
My number like 2, second or third video.
How much?
So my number 1 was this story about this woman. 2, one and then Sammy. 3, A-Light, and then 4, Gene. Yeah, out of countless interviews. Yeah,
And
Gene
see,
brings numbers.
And you know what? So this is the thing. It's very powerful. And listen, I respect people that are against this, but at the same time, there's people that do this for a business, and they're going to think about this as a business. So I don't think it's about honor. I think like Tom, you do it as a business. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I do it like as a business, but like I have a different strategy than a lot of other content creators. So like the short game where the short money is extracting value. Give me a super chat, give me a cash app, and only look at, hey, how much I make, right? And that's a great marker to look at, but that's almost like a short buoy that's in the ocean, but you don't know what's past that. Me, I'm looking at it as like a long game, right? I don't really make much money now. I probably lose. Joe knows this. If they come by for cigars and dinner, I spend more on them coming over than I do on a whole month's that I make on YouTube. So like, not that it's a lot of money, but what I'm saying is I don't really make a lot of money now, and I probably lose money some months. And if you count my time, forget it. I'm way underwater, right? But what I'm looking to do is long term, build a community, build up subs. Whether I write my next book, I might sell that book. Whether I have a course, whether I have something to offer, that's where the bigger money is. Or bigger sponsorships from like maybe some type of company that sells stuff to men. Men is the hardest dynamic to get to. So if I'm able to get 50, 60, 70,000 men together, that's very valuable from the marketing standpoint. I'm looking at the big money. I'm not looking at the short money. And that's my strategy. If everybody wonders, Tom, why are you wasting your time? Why are you doing this? They could look at, I made like $400 last month on YouTube, but I had a sponsor who was very generous. But outside of that, I don't make a lot of money. So to me, it's a long-term play, not short-term.
I'm waiting for the first guy that wasn't a rat to come out and say, look, there's a lot of money in this YouTube. I want to make a business out of this. I got a name. I never ratted.
I mean, you look at the successful channels above, let's say 20,000 that I think are doing it well. I think OC Shorts comes to mind. I think he has north of 25,000 now. He gets a good amount of subs. I think hopefully he edits himself or he does some mild editing. So it's just a little bit of time. He does his shorts. He gets good views, and he can make a few bucks that way. And James is a great guy, and he stays way out of the nonsense. So I'm
not talking about guys. I'm talking about an actual. I'll give you an example. Let's use a hypothetical.
Us, and then there's first party guys like a Jimmy Calandra or Panisi. To me, he's one of the first party guys that are doing
it. But Panisi and Calandra have that negative past. Say a guy like Ronnie. Example: Ronnie G gets out, needs to make money. He said, "You know what? These guys are making a fortune here online. I'm going to go on and I'm going to attack these damn rats, and I'm going to put up a show." Right away, he's going to blast off.
He would, but what is he going to talk about? Because hey, I'm going to come on, be a wise guy, and not talk.
No, he can go after the rats. Say he just came on and just did a channel, not talking about personal stuff, but going after the guys.
Well, but look at this. You have a real time example. Look at JTP, right? Has credibility because he works.
Good point.
Well, in the criminal justice space, it's what he does for a living. He has, some personal experience, which I think is his motivation. His isn't about money. He's giving away his shirts, right? And it's interesting enough and Vinny's in the chat. Hopefully he can jump on. We Push Back gets a lot more pushback than I thought it would.
Vinny, I'm gonna drop you the link if you want to jump in. You're welcome.
And really quick, because I do this for a living, and I watch certain channels and I see how they do. Dominic has an excellent program. He has an excellent platform, and it's admirable in many respects. But you could ask him. I don't know if he watched your show. It's a hump, man. It's not easy. We Push Back gets a lot of pushback.
Yeah, they do.
So that would be the closest reference to that. And that's not, don't get me wrong, it's doing well, but it's not skyrocketing because people have to really look at the different options and then come up with decisions themselves. That's
surprising to you? I mean, to me, it doesn't surprise me at all, because there's a lot of people on YouTube that, cooperated. So all those people, they're going to like him. So, I mean, obviously he had to realize that coming into it. I mean, he's got to...
Oh, it's an uphill battle for sure.
Push back, but of course there's going to be pushback because, there's two types of people on the internet.
Well, I think, I don't know if this is, I think this is intent. If it's not, it's kind of serendipitously comes to this intent, where a lot of this stuff plays out in the media. And one thing, Joe, shouldn't happen is you shouldn't go be a jury, sit down and look and be like, oh, that guy's a wise guy, he's guilty. And there was even another creator, and I don't want to throw this creator under the bus. And they kind of said to Dominic during the debate, well, aren't these guys all kind of bad guys anyway, kind of be in jail? No. If in the American justice system, if you did something wrong and you did said crime, you need to be convicted of said crime. I don't care if you're a wise guy or anything else. You need to be convicted of said crime. And I think that's what Dominic's mantra is. And although I've had informants on my show, and I may still continue to have them, I still have a great, profound respect for what he's doing.
Well, I found the best thing to do is, like, there's people in my chat room that are part of that group, and I allow them to put up what they want to put up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to attack that organization. I may have said some words the wrong way. I'm learning my lesson about that.
Get out, Lee. Shocker.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know when to pick your battles. And to me, that's not a battle. That's just a good group doing a good thing. So,
my goal in life is if I can get Giovanni Giorgio to subscribe to me, my life will be so much different.
Oh, really?
Listen, again, what's interesting enough is I have a good relationship, online relationship with a lot of the people from We Push Back, and there's a kind of a mutual level of respect. I know for a fact if I have an informant on, they're not watching that show. I know if they have an informant on, I should maybe expect a negative comment with pushback. And again, I respect that. But when I do have Joe on or Vinny on or yourself, a lot of these guys are in the chat. A lot of these guys are messaging me. A lot of these guys emailing me. That's where there needs to be. And that's what I think I was trying to say earlier with Joe is there needs to be a lot more mutual respect and communication, man. I got to be honest with you. I think Joe probably already is. I'm kind of a little tired of a lot of the drama. I've been tired. I'm trying to stay away from it. It's boring, to be honest with you,
Vinny, hey, you look nice and crispy today. You look nice and healthy.
Well, yeah, thanks. How are you?
Hey, Vincenz.
Hey, what are you doing?
So have you heard anything we've been talking about?
The last 10, 15 minutes, yeah.
Do you have anything to throw in on it?
Yeah, people like Jerry Springer. Joey had over 1,000 views last night. If I had Jesus next to me today, I'd have 20. People want to hear bullshit. And I'm just not going to resort to it because I can pay my rent.
Yeah.
Basically it. And as for We Push Back, you know what? We Push Back, if you went to jail or you were ratted, you're going to have a much different feeling about We Push Back than if you're just loving people talking about their ex-crime life. Okay, I almost went to jail for it because of someone who informed. I don't even, and it's respectful because I don't even use the word rat, which I should, but I don't. Because people use it about me like this rat bastard, and I'm not a rat. I could walk down any fucking neighborhood. No one's bothering me. But I will tell you that people that are...
What did you say, Joe?
Not every neighborhood.
Not every neighborhood.
Well, maybe. People that are affected by it, of course, are going to be much more in tune with what it's about. If you're Joe whomever from Wisconsin, it's a great listen. Why would you have anything against those people? They never circled your orbit. You never met someone like that if you're in Utah. You've watched the Godfather movie. You've watched Goodfellas. Wow, I get to latch on and be a gangster for a day because through this tube, I see someone. It's almost like I know them. And oh my God, if they answer me in the chat, they know I'm alive. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. I almost went to jail. I don't like informants. End of story. Dominic's brother and dad are in jail. He doesn't scream about, oh, if they deserve it or not. He wants a fair trial. You shouldn't have idiots in the jury box that are saying, shit, I got the Ranger game at 7 o'clock. Is he guilty or what? No, he wants them to be informed. He wants them to do the right process. And if you committed the crime and you go away correctly, so be it, you chose your life.
And that is a major issue. You have jurors, you just mentioned it. You got jurors that may know someone's guilty of, say, something else. And it's hard to be a juror and sit down and sentence somebody without thinking about that other stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, and it happens every day.
Absolutely. You have people that vote, Lee, that practically can't read.
Oh, and by the way, today is election day. I don't know if it is in your states, but here in Texas it is. And there's a couple of blue counties that are about to be flipped that haven't been flipped in years. So don't believe that thing you hear about Texas changing.
You got to be careful, Lee. In 2024, there's a chance that it may go the way of Joe Bay 8th.
What might?
Texas.
A heart attack?
Texas.
No, it's not. It's all false. Believe me.
Hey, Joe, do you agree with if you haven't been affected by it, obviously you'll probably have a lot more patience for it than someone that had a family member or, and I don't preach. I don't say you shouldn't talk to this guy because he's an informant. Listen, do I think people turn their lives around? Absolutely.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had lunch with an informant, former mob guy.
You
And
bastard.
he brought out another
evil bastard.
He brought another former, well, it was for the show, but he brought another former mob guy. And it turned out that he informed on my cousin's grandfather. And I knew the family. I went to the wedding. And he basically missed the wedding because of the informant tacked on a lot more years. Same case as actually Dominic's father. So I can't lie to you and say, and this is hypocritical, I'm going to own this, is I was sick to my stomach after I spent time with this guy. So now I kind of have at least an inkling of what those families feel. So what I try to do, and I don't always do this successfully, is if I'll have somebody who's an informant that I believe has value to mob history and their story, I'll do my best to have somebody else on to counterpoint. And I've done that. I have 2 different counterpoints to Johnny A-Light. I never had anybody raise their hand and say, I really want to counterpoint. Except Bay, if people want to counterpoint him all the time. But outside of those 2, just kidding. If there's not a counterpoint, I don't post it. But I'm welcome. If I do a show in Lee and somebody's against him and gives a reasonable case to come on, I'll have them on the next day to counterpoint. So ever since that moment, I said, if I ever do any informant or if I have anybody from the life, I need to have somebody to counterpoint this, whether it be a family member or something, because I did have that experience and it wasn't good.
Lee, this YouTube has really thrown me for, I'll tell you, this is like being involved in a comic book. All you see is avatars. You're talking to Snoopy, the Superman. That's what this is. You're involved in your own comic book.
One other thing.
Most of them are avatars. You don't even see who they are.
You got grown men wearing their caps sideways. I mean, you got all sorts of shit going on here.
Okay. Look, so it's like you have it this way, right? All right. So if you go this way, that means you get women. If you go this way, women, this way, women, this way, men.
So that means Vinny and I don't have no caps on because we don't get women.
Bingo. So you know why a lot of people hate these informants? Not even because like the person they testified against. It's just betrayal. You know what I mean? Some people don't like people who betray. It might not be, and that doesn't have to be in just they hate snitches or whatever. It could be anyone. It could be someone that, you know, cheats on his wife or is a tax evader or, you know, so there's a lot of reasons why people don't like informants. Me personally, I don't have anything bad to say about someone unless I really know what was behind what they did. I'm not in the streets, but it just doesn't affect me as much as it does some people.
And you know, I'll give you another great thing about doing these shows. I did not expect to come on here today and have a show like this. And this is what happens when you do these shows. You never know what to expect. And I'm like looking and listening to the show for the last hour, and I'm like, this is really good shit because
How many
everybody's
times, Lee? How many times has your thumbnail lasted for 2 seconds and then the show was about something totally different? You're right.
I made a thumbnail wrong yesterday about Neil Delacroix. And once again, I learned my lesson. You're always learning on here. There's certain guys you do not go after. Neil Delacroix is one of them. And I am shocked that people got away going after Persico. There's just certain guys that you do not go after.
Well, what happened when we talked the other day and you tried to tell me that Delacroix shit? What did I tell you? Absolutely not in a million years. I said my grandfather grew up with him. Trust me. He wasn't no snitch.
And that's what you do.
Not in a million years.
You ask around and then you have to explore it. You don't just do a show because you
have to properly get it.
Yeah. Well,
but you know what? I wanted to ask you guys this question. Has Franzese and those guys coming into the genre, has it helped you guys? Because you're always talking about algorithm. So maybe Gene could help the algorithm.
Well, let me give you an example. Great. The other day, I did a show on John A. Light, and it was about, he said some things where he said that John Gotti sent him and Bobby Barillo on a hit. And so I called him out on it, and I did a show. A couple days later, I hear that John A. Light's real pissed at me.
Yeah.
Through the grapevine, I heard that he's real pissed at me. He wants to know why I'm doing a show like that. And I'm like, why? What the fuck? You think I'm not doing shows about you no more? It's just been a while. It doesn't mean that I'm friends with you. I've never been friends with him. Yeah. But see, people think, okay, Lee talks to Gene Barillo, so he's friends with John A. Light. No.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's telling the truth, though, because, like, I found out that what hit means, hit is code word, okay, for go pick up the pizza and the sandwiches. That's what hit meant. So when he sent them on a hit, he was sending them to go get the food and bring it back to the club.
We're supposed to believe he was 23 years old, and he takes in, and John Gotti takes in one of his biggest guys, Bobby Barillo, and says, hey, take the kid with you. John Gotti was so successful because he had about 10 guys around him. And in order to talk to John Gotti, you had to get through these 10 guys. So he's going to let this little young shit come and talk to him? I mean, how stupid does that sound? How stupid does it sound that anybody even believes that? And Armchair, I'm going to ask you that question.
I'm sending an email. So repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to do work. Shoot.
You interviewed John A. Light.
Many
so
times. When
you hear a statement that he comes up with a new story saying that he was with Bobby Barillo, he sat down with John Gotti Sr. and they sent him on a hit, waiting for somebody. Well, then they backed out of the hit.
I'll say this. I'll say this. I've done my best to cover him the best I can, right? So what happened was I revisited. Remember, you asked me my top shows. I think now my number 3 show was with Johnny A. Light when he came out with his second book, and I wanted to revisit it to see how it aged, right? And some stuff was consistent, right? And other stuff I really attacked him on. So then I called him up, or he called me up, pissed. We got into it, and then I'm like, let's just go live, fuck it, right? We went live. And I was very hard on him, which I never did before. And people were like, oh, good job. All the people that didn't like him. So then I said, okay, I'm going to check this guy out. And I looked at 6 things. 3 or 4 of those things checked out. 2 didn't. And we did a show on that. Then I did another show on somebody saying all 6 things were wrong. And my point being is, like, it's hard to, there's his story, there's somebody else's story, there's the truth. It's probably somewhere in the middle. I think with him, I think that he was a serious guy. He was a money earner. He was friends with Junior for a certain period. He had certain access. I think there is a certain level of embellishment, but at this point,
the level is like getting huge now.
Well, I don't, it's like, maybe I look at it differently. Like if you turn around and said I did this, it doesn't get me any more money in my bank. It doesn't help my family. So I maybe am less critical about it. I don't know, but that's just my take. Because I also challenged him before too,
Well, what I did when he made that statement on his show, I went back and watched his Vlad interview. And he put something else in place in the same time period and never mentioned anything. Why would he never mention anything about doing something with Bobby Barillo? And then a couple of years later, he talks about it. That's not like John A. like to leave something out like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
He added it, and it's a new story.
Yeah, but he also has an uncanny memory in terms of times and places where if you tend to make something up, you tend to you make it up and then you have to recall it. It's hard. You leave stuff out, but he has very uncanny recollection time and place. So I'll give him that.
Lee, could you put up JoJo D comment?
Yeah, that's difficult when you fucking write a script.
I don't even remember near that. Why don't you just say what it says, Brooklyn?
Just went now. It said that pretty much it's crazy that no one is allowed to talk about Gotti Jr. and state the fact that he sat with government that was chased. I will tell you this much, and I was going to ask Tom before I saw that comment. Tom, if you and I, which are good friends, and I became a criminal and then I got out and you interviewed me, would you interview me differently because you like me and not want to hurt my family as you would someone you don't know, knowing both parts are going to look at the show? I think because Angel's on here and because people gave John Gotti so much reverence, the father now, I think they watch what they say. Absolutely. I think because Angel has a channel, I think they try to really be very respectful.
Is it fair? Is that
probably fair? Not? But you know what? Is it fair that I get you a job in my company when there are 1,000 people applying because I'm a VP? Is it fair?
Being that we're on this, I'm glad you brought this up.
It's not fair, but that's what the world is, Lee, and this is what imitates life. Is it fair when a police officer has a rabbi and a young rookie's in a great neighborhood and the other kids in Fort Apache? This is life, and this is what happens. Are there things that I would probably say that if a family member on here, I wouldn't? Absolutely. Because we all do have a little bit of good in us. And that's what I try to say when all these people are destroying each other. Obviously, people can control their tongue when they don't go after her brother. So obviously, people pick and choose when they can do the right thing. And that's what annoys the shit out of me, Lee.
Well, I want to answer Vinny's question. Yep. So the short answer is I would do an interview with you. And so here's the thing that people I do get that you could be harder on somebody. You could throw some zingers. You can kind of be like the shock guy, the ahas, they call it. Part of the reason why I don't do that, and there's really two reasons. The first is I really try to connect with the interviewer and really unpack and understand the situation. And if they feel comfortable, right, then they're going to give you the best response. Now, again, my backdrop or my kind of safety net is if they're just totally full of shit.
Hey, Joe, I'm sorry. Can you take over the show for me for 1 minute, please, while you're talking to Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I got to remove myself for a minute.
That's right. Vinny leaves all the time to poop. So whenever you get up, I just make the poop.
Joe, we're meeting for lunch, right, Joe?
Yeah. Be dinner, but yeah.
It'll be dinner, but yeah, it's fine.
After this, we'll go.
Okay.
So So part of the reason I do the whole tough interview is one, you're not going to get on if they're going to say what they're going to say, and then essentially they're going to whether you're tough on them or not. Number two, if you're like a jerk off to all your guests, you're not going to get big names. You're not going to get good guests because I have a smaller show relative to these other shows. If you're known as being like that guy, you're not going to get a lot of guests. That's why I'm sorry. People get mad at me, but I interviewed 6 inducted members. If I was a jerk to the first one, I wouldn't have got the other 5. I'm looking to build off the library, and you just got to be fair where you can, you know?
I just don't like when people say shit that's not right. I'll tell you exactly.
Yeah,
I
please.
saw a friend of mine today sent me a comment about that was on someone's show about me following Monkey in the middle of something with Dom Crea. That I danced to his. I don't know. You were partners with an informant. Do I hide from you? Am I on your shows? Are you on mine? Obviously, Dominic's not telling me don't talk to Tom.
Yeah.
So where Dominic gets rattled by everyone for, well, everyone dances around what he thinks should happen. I don't know. You had a show and you're my friend. Obviously, he's not saying anything. So if you go into bitch, at least have the right information.
Wait, but so hold on. So the message you got today was, hey, you talked to Dom Crea?
No. The message I got today from a friend of mine was like someone said, oh, Vinny like dances because Dom Crea says what to do.
That's not true.
Not at all.
I can't even get you to call me back, so I know you don't listen to anybody.
And his shirts are nice, by the way. They are.
So you had a hard on this morning. What happened? Was that it? Like you were on one today. What happened?
No, because you know what? Because I'm sick of people giving the wrong information and knocking me. If you're going to knock me, bipolar Vinny, read about bipolar and know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't, do some due diligence. I know, listen, obviously, most of the people that are trolls don't work. They're on all fucking day on 9 channels. So take 2 seconds that you'd be listening to the back end of a channel before you're taking your crap to run to the new channel at 5 o'clock and read about what bipolar is before just saying what you think I am. That's all I'm saying, because you make yourself look very stupid, which, you know, I'm trying to help you out here. So there's my psychological Father Vinny routine. I'm trying to help you not to look such like losers and jerk-offs. There you go.
Yeah.
Gazzo, I agree with this. Tom and Lee, different kinds of content you make, it is fun to create it. I'll be honest with you. If I had to be one-sided, I would be bored as shit. But at the same time, I respect Vinny's opinion, and that's all there is to it.
Lee, I think the question was, and I'd actually like to hear what you say. What type of do you like? Interviews? Do you like kind of co-host like today a panel? Do you like the monologues? Do you like?
I love this. I love this because we're having actual conversation with actual intelligent people. Even though you'll have some moron tonight say we're not, but we are intelligent people, and they don't understand that. And you know what else we are? We're 4 people here, and we're all New Yorkers.
I'm sorry for cursing on your show, Lee, and getting a little extra.
No. Listen, Joe put you to shame. What you did is like Joe brushing his.
No, but I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like me when I'm reciting Our Father.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask a fair question, because this I think is fair, and I would like to Vinny to answer too. I don't mean to put him on the spot, but you know, I can speak for myself. I think Vinny, Joe are like Catholic. We're Christian, and like a big tenet of Christian belief is not where you start, it's where you end. We can do something and then go in a little box with some dude and be resolved of our sins, right? So like one of the biggest tenets of Christianity, Catholicism, is ability to forgive, right? So a lot of people get on me like, well, how could you do a show with an informant? I went with my gut. I really felt, and I still do to an extent, that he has repented, and that's why I was able to do a show. So I'm not justifying it, but that's where it's at, right?
Right. In
So
Tom's book, repenting means generate cash.
What I'm getting at is, where is there, hey, you know what, you don't want to highlight an informant and breathe that, and I respect that, versus, hey, you know what, this person may actually may have changed, and you should celebrate that. Vinny, I'd like to ask you actually, if you don't mind, and like all you guys, but like, where's that balance, you know?
I think what are you talking about, repenting?
No, it's like some of the people that I interviewed, I really truly felt they were bad about what they did.
Well, there are a couple of people.
They feel bad about getting caught. That's what they feel bad about.
I do. Yeah, but I do think there are 1 or 2 that we know that definitely does
Yeah.
feel they did the wrong thing. I do. Now I don't know to what degree. I don't have my crystal ball. My batteries are gone. Where I've given up trying to read people's minds because I'll be 1,000% wrong anytime I do it. But I will tell you, I do think there are people that really look at their kids now, have had a family, and say, "Wow, what the hell did I do?" Yeah, I do. I believe people repent. I do. To what
It's like
degree? I don't know.
Guys, I just want to answer one thing to somebody. Lee, what do you think about I like claiming organized crime? Task force police arrested him for suspected gun running. It's BS. Read the police report, read the court report. It doesn't take much. People, it's just more of his usual BS. That's all I have to say about that. And I told him that, and I'm not talking behind his back. I told him that last night. Okay. So
I heard he was pretty nasty to me last night. Is that true?
Would you have him on your show?
He was calling me the old man. The old
that was
man.
you?
Huh? Yeah, he said that only one show bothered him that was done, and it was mine. Because you know why? Because I reported the accurate facts. I actually showed his arrest sheet. So, but he's lucky enough to be in the city of New York, so you can commit crimes in New York and be let out very easily.
So what's going on now? Is he on probation now, waiting to go back for a trial for this?
He has to still answer for his shit. And so I said to him last night on his
show.
You're
talking about Highlight. I thought you were talking about the other guy. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I said to him last night, I said, "Guy, why are you on here?" I said, "You have a serious open case. Why are you on here talking about it?" I said, "Who does that?" And then what he said, I never forget what he said to me. He said last night, he goes, "What do you mean it's a serious case? It's only 9 misdemeanors and 2 felonies."
Well, to him, that's light.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got the perfect.
Wait, what did you do? You jumped in his chat?
Yeah, because he was calling me the old man troll, so I had to, I did a show. I didn't insult him. I didn't attack him. I put up what he did. And so now I'm the old man troll, which I don't mind. I don't want him to like me. There's certain people in this world I don't want to like me, and he's one of them. So, that's it. But that's just it. If you're going to do a crime, guys, go to New York City and do it in New York City or San Francisco. Those are the 2 safety zones in the country right now.
What would you have him on your show?
He wouldn't dare come on my show. I would love to have him on my show.
But would you, if he would?
Yeah.
In a minute.
You would.
Yes. And it's like last night I told him he wasn't a Mason. He's not. And I know this because I got rejected as being a Mason because I had a criminal record. There's just a lot of things that people are afraid to come out and say. And it's the same thing with Angel. People are afraid of her because she's going to come after you. She does shows on me 2 a week now. Why? Because I have an opinion.
Working overtime, huh?
Well, it's just the way it is. And that's why you guys are in the crosshair right now. Let's face it. You guys are in the crosshair.
But we're in the crosshairs and we never said anything negative.
No, that's it. I can understand her going after
I remember exactly what I said in that conversation. I don't remember putting this television on this morning, so I don't remember everything. But I do remember saying one of the things I really cherish her about, figuratively, is how she really loves her father. And I hope my children at a fast loved my father 1/10 of the way she loves her father and has her family's back. I said that, and I said, listen, does he have a 302? I don't know. People say he does, but you know what? I would not be surprised if the government put those out there because they just wanted him so bad in that family bed. That's what I said. I don't know if he has 302. I don't know if they're real. Look what they said on CNN about the presidential election. That's a newscast, and they were lying all the time. How do I know what's real and what's not? It's not my job, and I could give a shit less, honestly. Doesn't affect my life one way or another. But that's all I said. I never said that I believed that he did. I don't know. I would guess no, but I've been wrong about a lot of things. But she took that, and I don't know. I didn't even watch her show, so I don't know what she said about me. But I got emails that she said something. But I said, for what? Like, I didn't do anything. And that's what annoyed me more than anything.
Well, that's the thing, though. What we say, words are twisted around. People, what we're saying, and this is, it sucks when you got to walk on eggshells. So I've decided I'm not walking on eggshells no more. I'm going to say what I want to say. And that's what a man does. That's as long as you're not lying, say what you want to say. And what she might think's a lie isn't necessarily what we think's a lie, or what other people think's a lie.
Yeah, but you could hear it.
Huh?
You could hear it.
Yeah,
You
well,
could hear if it's a lie or not. You listen to what was being said.
and prove it as a lie. That's
Right,
what
Vinny, I think there's a few things going on, and I'm not sure why this. Well, I know why it happens. Let's be honest. But what I think happens is, to a larger degree, you and Joe get grouped together, and then, proudly, because I'm your friend, I make a group in with you guys as well. What I think is going on here is, I think that with you specifically, I would get in touch with her, and I probably within 5 minutes it'll be resolved. I think the same thing with Joe. I was watching yesterday when Angel came on, and I was really hoping they were going to kind of like hash it out a little bit, but come to a resolution. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And I thought Joe was professional about it the best he could be, because, remember, it's alive. Like, lives aren't easy. I got a baby crying, there are things going on. You don't know how you're going to react in situations. So I think, like, individually or together, I think if there was just like kind of like a sit down, if you will, I think these things could be resolved. I think we're all kind of like just she has a newer show, but we've been involved with this drama for months. It's tiring. Things get misconstrued, so there just needs to be better communication.
How much do you think? How much do you think, Lee, it has to do on my end that I'm with We Push Back, and that her friends aren't?
I think it has part of it, but I think that when you show up on my show like this, because she has such a disdain for me, it's not going to help you either. And you're going to be part of some shows tonight, so get used to it. But you got to say to yourself, as a man, does anybody have the right to tell me? It's like Tom says this is, a big freedom of speech. We're going through a big thing in this country right now. They're trying to shut down our speech.
Oh, no, I know. People are in tunnels with their kids hoping they get out. And we're talking about wrenches, and we're talking about all this bullshit.
You got these people in the streets of Ukraine fighting.
Ukraine.
And they're actually doing quite well. But
they really are.
They're fighting back. And anytime you go into a country like that, Ukraine's a very big country too.
I'm gonna make a prediction. Oh, sorry, keep going. But I'll make a prediction for you, Lee, real quick.
Well, my prediction is this: that even if the Russians win that battle, they've already lost it.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Why do you say that, Lee?
Huh?
Even if they won, they already lost. I don't understand what that means.
Because they were expecting to march right to the Capitol and not take the amount of people killed in their country.
Big bad Putin had a rough go with a group.
And in their country right now, there's a lot. They're not letting us know, but there's a lot of protesting going on. His own people. And you got to remember that he's a gangster. And what's happening is the other gangsters see the opening now. He gave the other gangsters the opening. So don't be surprised if he's replaced pretty soon.
You think if Putin let's say this doesn't work out for Putin, right? And do you think he'd join us in the mob genre, Putin, after he gets...
He's going to have his own show.
He's going to have his own show. I'll try to get him for an interview first.
Okay, Tom, what did you want to say?
No, I was actually going to go back to the mob genre stuff. So part of the reason why I think the mob genre even flourished for a minute was, as a group, was C-19 caused everybody to stay home. So a lot of movies weren't made, a lot of TV shows weren't made, a lot of stuff is going on. So people migrated towards YouTube, right? And then they found the genre, and they kind of found the creators, and they kind of hung out, right? Now we're sitting around all arguing with each other, not creating great content. So what happens when their favorite show, production from 9 months ago, starts filming again, they're going to divert their attention over to HBO Max, Netflix again, Channel 2. So you're going to see less people have a tolerance for nonsense because they're going to watch less. There's people in here that are watching 5 shows or always on. They're going to watch 4 shows, and they're going to watch 3 shows, and they're going to watch 2 shows. Then these creators that are trying to make money by, getting super chats and stuff, that's going to dry up a little bit. The people that are about money, they're going to fall off first. And then there's going to be people that are just talking to themselves for 6 months. They're like, fuck this, I'm out. So in a year from now, there's going to probably only be 2 or 3 shows left. The reason why the mob genre shut up was because everybody was home and they went on YouTube because there was nowhere else to watch.
That's
And
true.
shows and movies come back in full form, and the attention gets diverted elsewhere, you're going to start to see the numbers drop, and you're going to see the people that have been creating content all along are going to survive, and the people that bashed are just going to go bye-bye.
So what's going to happen to me, Tom?
Well,
You're in deep shit.
well, no, I feel like although with some dabbling in a little bit of drama, you've been putting out general content on the mob for the last like 4 or 5 weeks, and I got to give you a compliment, which I don't like to do normally, is you stuck to your guns. You said, "Hey guys, I'm going to create content. I'm out of the nonsense." I think you're at 6 weeks now of doing topical comment, evergreen comment, stuff that's going to be around in a year from now that's going to be relevant, right? And argue with us right now is not going to be relevant in a year. So I think you stuck to your guns on that. And I think if you continue to do so, I think you'll prosper. And your numbers are showing it too.
And you know, we have to have good people that listen to us, and not just a group. We have to have people that are going to join that group.
Correct.
And you know, that's I'll give you an example. I can just pull people up here. Neutral Drop, great guy. Nobody knows much about him. Yeah, he has his own, he's bigger than any of us.
Was that?
You know, but he comes here and he's loyal. He watches this show all the time. And it's the people like that, it's the other content makers that have these big shows that come and watch your show that really matter. And I'm not talking 10,000. I'm talking people with 100,000.
Oh, by the way, and I love that each and every sub, and I'm thankful. But in the grand scheme, 10,000 is really not a large number.
Exactly. You know, it's an accomplishment if you're just a guy sitting at home like me. You know, to me, I consider this show an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And you know, I consider everything I'm getting a bonus. You know, I consider when someone gives me a donation a bonus.
Yep.
I don't live off of it. You know, I better pay my bills another way or I'm going to be in big trouble. And that's just how I look at it. I'm not.
You know what though, Tom? I don't necessarily agree. Listen, Jerry Springer ran for 20 years. The Wilco Show. People want bullshit.
Joe,
You think everyone's home now watching this? You got people in their cars on their cell phone. You have people just want to see shit.
Yeah, but you're the good example. You're pretty, depending which video you talk to, you're pretty level-headed. And you know, I got the text this morning, like if this continued the way it's going to,
I'm telling the channel.
It's not worth it for you.
Or giving it away. Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. This morning I was thinking, and I'm still thinking pretty much. I don't know if I'm gonna be doing this much longer, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a waste of time. I could be spending time with my son who still lives here. He'll be out soon, and what am I wasting time at this point?
Well, that's the other part of the equation. As I said, people are going to, like, they're going to go away, but also creators, right? You're like, you know, you're on an hour a day, 30 hours a month. You look at kind of what comes in. It's like, is it worth giving up that time, you know, for that amount of money? So then it might become financial.
And I don't make any money. I don't make any money.
Yeah, but it might be opportunity costs. You could be doing other things with your son.
Absolutely.
You know, living life,
and you know what it is too? This world, this country is a lot screwed up than I ever thought it was after seeing people on YouTube. I see people say we're in trouble. We're not in trouble. We're done. Read half chats.
I don't like to say anything. I'd like to say something too. See, February 12th last year, my brother killed himself. It was very dramatic for my family. It was a horrible thing. And now we're finding out a lot more things. We didn't realize that he was dying. And when you have a brain tumor in your lobe of your brain, it controls your emotions, your thoughts.
Wow.
And so we loved him so much. He was a good man, and he did horrible death. It was all over the media. It was very much talked about. And I was lucky because I was devastated. And to have YouTube was my therapy. And I stopped so much thinking about it. Sure, you had your animals on here that bring it up, but you know, those are the animals, but you got to deal with it. but it's nice to have other conversation. I never thought that I'll be pushing 4,000 subs. I never thought that. And I didn't get on here. It's just therapy. I made friends. I met people. I made a lot of mistakes. And sometimes the anger that I vented was the anger of my brother's death. And I
Sure.
took it out on other people.
Yeah, you transfer all this shit. Yeah.
And you mentioned this too, Vinny. You said that when you came on here, you were having trouble with mental health issues. And I believe that you said that this helped you.
It did. And it still has. Listen, Lee, there's probably a much better chance than not that I'm going to wrap this up this week. But I will tell you this much. I might put, like pre-records of music and shit like that.
You got two people shaking their heads saying, no, you're not.
Here's why you don't wrap it up, Vinny. Okay?
Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't go on his show and stuff.
Hold on real quick, Joe. I also heard Vinny never wraps it up.
Right. Yeah, well, I heard that too. But here's the thing, right?
How many kids you got, Vinny? How many kids you got, Vinny?
One. No, because it looks like a little tiny terrorist if I put something on. No, I have one 26-year-old boy.
So you've been wrapping it up.
It's amazing how, as I start doing more shows, right, I start saying to myself, wait a minute now, I'm going to quit? Well, why am I going to quit? It's not because of the people that like me and support me. It's about the people that don't like me and don't support me. So to make that decision to leave because of them, I should be thinking to myself, no, I should stay because of the people that like me. And we need to put more emphasis on that. Because there's a lot more people that like you than hate you.
Yep.
So if more people hated you, then maybe, you pack it up. But I mean, what's the percentages? So you almost got to think like that, Vinny, that people, they want to see you on.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't want to see you on, but they do. So you got to stay on.
You just
people, just so you know, today I'm putting up some remarks. I'm not really going to read them because we have a pretty good conversation going. It's just one of those days today, but I appreciate you guys putting up your comments.
Well, we're really quick though. I also want to say it's like a drug, right? So what you do is you do your show, and then you follow the numbers, and then when you get comments, they come in. And how about you? I respond. So you respond to comments. You get that reinforcement. When you get a like, you get not the like the thing, but like it. So you constantly on your email. At least for me, my email set up where I get notified. So I'm getting notified. So I go back in, notified, I go back in, notified, go back in. It's a little bit of a drug too. There is a certain dependency that you develop on this, and it becomes a sense of excitement. And I think it's a hamster wheel that it's hard to get out of. Again, I give Lee respect.
Well, I use it because if I'm in a real bad mood, like I was in a real miserable, I had to go to the doctor this morning, a real bad mood.
Oh no, I knew you were salty this morning. That's why I figured.
And it helps me.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Hey, Tom, I know you're not scared of tough comments, so I'm going to put one up for you. You ready?
All right.
Okay. This one says, Tom, you've mentioned this before. It's extremely hypocritical to say you were sick to your stomach over eating with a rat, but you were able to go and start a podcast with a different rat.
Yeah, I took a second to comment. You're far behind, Lee. To comment.
A half hour.
So as I said earlier, that's why I said this comment. As I said earlier, it's conflicting. On one end, I was sick to my stomach just by being near this guy. But on the other end, before I started my show, I vetted John, what he did, how he did it, sat with him, talked to him, interviewed him 9 times, and felt he was reformed. So I felt like he deserves another chance, and I want to be the one to do it. So I'm not defending, it's not an excuse, but that's why I did it. And I'm just saying that it's conflicting. It really is. And if anybody thinks it's not, I think there needs to be a discussion about it. But yeah, so DP and I already made up. We already went to dinner. We came back, and now you bring it up. But that's how I answered it.
DP, what up, man?
But DP's fair. I mean, I think DP. I believe DP comes on some of my lives. I don't do as many lives. But
So you guys know DP. You guys know DP.
I know that. I know that it's a D space P. I've seen it before. I'm not DP. I think you watch my show. I'm not sure. But I also don't do a lot of live, so I don't have that much direct connection with somebody unless they comment or email me.
Doo-Doo Brown, what up? DP and Doo-Doo Brown. It's funny that their comments are one right over another. Wow. Because they both defended me in someone else's chat when they were, destroying me, which I thought took a nice set of balls to do that, because, the people in the chat over there, my alleged friends, I should show you the messages I get from them. How they just sat on their hands while this, forget it, doesn't make, I'm not going to go back.
Let me ask you a question, Joe, because maybe I'm definitely tainting some of your friend, but like you are kind of getting bashed a little bit, and I don't like I always listen. I always try to be as self-aware as I can.
I look like I'm getting bashed. This face looks like I'm getting bashed. Where? Where am I getting bashed?
But I try to be self-aware. So if somebody doesn't like me, I could probably give you 10 reasons, and I'm probably right on 8 of them. Why do you think people knock you and beat you up so much lately?
Me?
Yeah. It just seems more recently.
Putin's trolls?
Because I have 400 subs. What else could I say? I'm the same motherfucker that I was for the past 4 months. So, what is it? I don't know.
No, it just seems maybe because you got more awareness and people saw your show more. It just seems you were maybe I'm hypersensitive to it because you're my friend. I want to hear it bothers me, but it just seems like
it does not bother me. It does not bother me because you know what? You got to assess every situation for what it is. There's certain people that are talking shit about me because I can't influence another person's thinking. Okay, so that's my fault. You know what I mean? Look, you know what? These people are fucking crazy on YouTube, right? It's like they're attacking me, right? Let's say they're bashing me, right? From here to across the street, they're bashing me, okay? Call them up. Hey, man, look, we got to settle this beef, man. Okay, no problem. You want to do a show tonight? Yeah. What's up with that shit? Seriously, you think these people didn't reach out to me looking to make amends?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it's amazing to me. Yo, you talk about me like that, I could get over it. You bring my family into it, we're never talking again.
Yeah.
And I'll see you when I see you. And that's not a tough guy thing. That's just the real thing.
The reality of it.
So, I mean, this shit, look at the people you have. I'm not, I'm a piece of shit. Why? Because someone talks about me and, I mean, I don't know. What? They're a stand-up guy? I don't understand any of this shit. It's actually sickening. But like I said, there's a lot of good people.
I was thinking,
one second, Joe. It's the way you wear your hat.
Maybe it's their missus. Who knows? That's happening.
I was thinking it should be called the Stand-Up Guy Podcast.
That's actually a good name. So he just gave you.
Tom, you're a stand-up guy. Yeah, that would be good. And no, what we'll do is like, if I think you're a stand-up guy, like you get initiated into the stand-up guy crew, you know what I mean? And we'll give them like a badge, you know what I mean? So like,
that's not a bad. Talk to your guys. That's not a bad name.
Yeah. So I got to, because I mean, it's all about status.
And then just so you know, like if you, let's just say a sake of argument, I say to somebody, hey, my buddy has a podcast. You should be on it. What's it called? Stand-Up Guy Podcast. Would be like, okay, like, oh wow, I should go on. Yes, I can go on that. Like, that's not a bad name.
Can I ask you guys a question? You can each answer this if you want. Do you feel like no matter what kind of show you do, you're going to be attacked because people take what you say the wrong way?
Wait, repeat that. I didn't.
Do you? Okay. This is one of the issues I have. So do you feel like when you say something, no matter what, it's going to be taken the wrong way and attacked?
No, that has nothing to do with that. They are friends with content providers that don't like you. You could cure cancer today, and they'll say Lee's full of shit. He didn't do it. He stole it from someone. No, if their content provider, if their favorite provider doesn't like you, whatever you do is not going to be good enough. A, because they're simps, and B, because they're afraid the content provider that they kiss ass with is going to hate them for being good to you. That's what it's about.
Okay, Joe, can you even come close to that? He just kicked ass in that answer, Joe.
I mean, there's nothing more to say really about it. Just look, if I tell you this, if I tell you like my goal is to get to 50,000 subs, right? What's going to happen then? I'm getting attacked at 400. What's going to happen at 1200? The people are just going to start liking me? No. People are always going to hate and talk shit. That's just how it is. People have hate in their blood. They don't look at the positivity in a person. They look at the negativity in a person. So
well, that's a good point. If you look at Michael Francis, he has 750,000 subs, and people still attack him all the time. Whether you like,
I'm not saying I'm getting to 50,000 subs. I'm just saying the more you go up,
Right.
Because for these guys to talk about me, it tells me a couple of things. One, they're watching the show.
You're relevant.
And two, they notice me.
You're relevant.
They hear me, right? Because I'm almost looking at it like I don't respond to certain content creators because they are what I would say is like on the bottom of my shoe. You know what I mean? They're so far beneath me, not as a YouTuber, as a person.
Alan, that's a
How am I going to mix it up with them and get down to their level?
okay, I'm gonna
When
finish.
you walk into a stadium, 30% of the people don't like you when you walk in. That's very true, Alan. That's a great point.
I'm going to ask you guys a question and then we'll close this out. So you guys are doing your shows. Vinny mentioned that he might stop doing it.
Yeah.
What for each one of you? What is your exact goal with your show? Starting with Tom.
I want to be Lee Cole. Aside for that, my goal is I wanted the channel to go to a point that it reaches its natural potential, right? So I think, and people are going to think I'm nuts, but I think 100,000 subs are not out of the question in the next 3 years. I have the expertise in digital marketing. I know business. I've done really well in the mob genre. I have the ability to connect with people, and Vinny loves this, to unpack their story in a way that it's easy to understand, that is empathetic without being sympathetic, and I'm able to give information that you normally couldn't get elsewhere. That's what I'm good at. So my goal is if I can get it in front of enough people, and if the content is good, it'll go up like a wildfire. I had some setbacks. I had to remove 700,000 views from my show and 100 shows. That crushed your channel. But despite that, I'm resilient, and we're going to keep trucking. So to me, I would like to get as a milestone 100,000, and then build a strong community for, again, to get like-minded people and really help and support each other and to learn and give value. That's my goal.
Well, Social Blade says that you're going to be probably at 25,000, 30,000 by next year.
Well, it's really weird. And these guys know I was struggling to get to 10,000. And when it got to 10,000, I already got like another 200, like in a day or two. I really think like when you work in higher numbers,
Exactly,
it grows quicker. So I think like it took me a year, let's say, to get to 10,000. I think it's going to take 6 months to get to 20,000.
My Social Blade says that I should be at 9,000 to 10,000 within the next year. And Social Blade's pretty accurate because they go based on what you're currently doing. And we'll see. We'll see. Okay, Joe, what's your goal?
So I have a couple of goals. I write my goals down. Okay. And I have them right here in front of me. And I'll just tell you like 3 of my goals, more short term than long term. One goal was to have 500 subs by the spring. Well, I think I could mark that off now.
Nice. Congratulations.
1,000 by the summer, not the beginning of the summer, sometime in the summertime.
That'll happen.
And then by the end of the year, I want to have a catalog of like 200 videos. Shorts, shit mixed in or whatever, you know what I mean? And
Joe,
that's the goals to the end of the year. So
Joe, I posted a short. Jocelyn and I had date night on Friday night, and I just posted a short of our dessert. 7,200 views.
Yeah.
Which is
On your
crazy.
date night?
Because I think people are jealous that you lost weight. They want you to get heavier again.
Yeah, exactly. No, you know what shorts are, Lee?
Short shows, right?
Under 20 seconds or something? Under 30 seconds?
There's a thing called shorts that if you hit, you go on your phone, and when you go into YouTube, it's in the middle. You hit shorts, and then you film for 15 seconds.
It only gives you 15.
Yeah, different spot on your channel. the shorts are different than your regular shows. Not a short show, but shorts. It's just 15-second clips, right?
So you're taking 15 seconds out of your video.
You shoot just 15 seconds at one time. You put music on it or a little effect, and you post it. It's like a Snapchat or Instagram Reels or whatever. And just for shits and giggles, I posted our dessert, and I look and I'm like, where does these 7,000 views come from? Because my Sammy video has been slow and steady. I'm like, it didn't come from Sammy, and it came from this short reel. But yeah, 7,000 views, 7,200 to be exact.
Okay, Vinny.
And I got 200 subs from it.
Wow.
200. Wow.
Yeah.
Vinny, are you going to start doing some shorts?
I have a couple up there, actually.
Oh,
You know why?
really?
You know why? Because I didn't know what they were, and I started videoing, and I thought it would go, and it said, "Oh, it stopped." All right.
Oh my God, Vinny! If you did, like, oh, here, Vinny, and like, oh, darn, and like, give the perception like that you fucked up, that would go viral.
Does those shorts affect your watch time?
It does.
Oh,
My social blade says I'll go through 2,000 oxys, 20 volumes, and have 50 breakdowns.
But real quick, but hold on. But you make it on views, and it's a sub magnet.
Oh, is it?
That's how I got 200 subs. In
I should do a short right now on being on your show, Lee.
So I have a recommendation for Vinny, real quick, if I may, Vinny.
What's that?
So I kept saying this in the podcast. So and I think Vinny should have a day and night show. The day show is the nice Vinny, and the night show is the mean Vinny. They would crush it, those two guys.
Pretty much my personality. If I did it, I wouldn't have to do much. No, what I want really is I want it really in the next day or two to decide really what I want to do, if this is worth it all. But I'll tell you why. Because it's not all about the money, but I think that a couple of content providers have ruined the super chats for everybody. I don't think the super chats will ever be the same.
Yeah. Then I would say this, though. I think, which it's not easy, but you can. You should go back to what you went on for.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. Like if it's mental health,
music and shit. Yeah.
And just go back to your roots. It sounds corny, but go back to your roots, enjoy it again. And if you enjoy it again, I think that
would be more pre-records though. That would be more pre-records.
Yeah. I like your because the pre-records I can stop and I can go back to it. When you guys do a live, I don't know if this happens to anybody. Drop a note in the chat if it does. You're watching a live, right? You got to do something. Now there's a gap between where they're at now and the comments are now, but you're here. Do you fast forward?
Right.
Or do you watch it and the comments are not aligned with the thing? It always fucks me up.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate you being on. I'm going to close the show out.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all so much. I really enjoyed this. And we got into we've been at 160, 170 for the last hour straight. For some reason, as soon as Joe popped on here, the numbers went off the charts.
Send my check to I gotta give you my PO box.
Oh, I wanted to tell you guys.
Give you my address.
My two sisters are down in Florida and they're on vacation. And one of my sisters is very wealthy, and she took my other sister on vacation. So I asked them where they were, and she says, "We're at a motel on the beach." I said, "How much you paying a night?" She goes, "Only $1,000." I'm thinking to myself, only $1,000. And then she calls me last night and she has a buzz going and she goes, "Lee, I just got you a Hulk Hogan cap." I'm thinking, Hulk Hogan, what did he do? And she goes, "Oh, Hulk Hogan's here. He signed one side, and Ric Flair's here. He signed the other side."
Get the hell out of here.
I swear to God. And I'm thinking to myself, and I called, remember I told you about this, Joe? And I'm thinking to myself, what's a cap go with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair together by themselves on it?
How much someone's willing to pay for it.
I mean, those are two big names, would you say, in wrestling?
No, they're the biggest. Well, now, but Hulk Hogan was the biggest guy.
And then Ric Flair.
Ric Flair was up there too, but Hulk Hogan was the Hulk.
So Hulk Hogan owns this, where they went. Hulk Hogan owns this place down there where a couple days a week wrestlers get together and come sell their memorabilia. Oh God,
memorabilia.
Thank you, memorabilia. And they come and sell it and stuff. So yes, Jimmy Hart was there.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Yeah, it was like, and Jimmy Hart's in his 70s now. But, that's why, I love my
Wait,
sister.
Jimmy Hart, was he the one with the beard or was he the part of the tag team?
No, he had the long hair. You're thinking about another, the Hart brothers. You're thinking about one of the Hart brothers.
Oh, no. Oh, Jimmy Hart, he had the megaphone.
Yes, Jimmy
Oh,
Hart.
my God. I loved him.
And so she got a picture of Jimmy Hart hugging her.
That's cool.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, it's like I'm not a big wrestling fan because of everything that happened with my brother, but those guys are legends, and to be able to get. So what I'm going to do? They're mailing me that cap today.
Oh,
So
great.
I'll have that cap.
Hey,
on.
Joe. Hey, Joe, is there a market for WWF old school stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I used to have the ring and the little guy. Oh, my, I used to have all that shit. The little ones at the flex, and I threw it all out.
Well, when Hogan was doing this, I told her, I said, make sure it says 2 Lee Cole on it. So it has 2 Lee Cole on it with both their names on it.
Didn't he get divorced and he got beat up in the divorce?
Oh, yeah.
But then he had that libel suit that he won.
Oh, he won the big money from Gawker.
Yeah.
Big money.
He shut Gawker down.
That was financed by a billionaire, right? Because I was like,
yeah,
like this, the scratch that he was getting for this wasn't like a regular.
Wasn't it financed by Thiel?
Peter Thiel, yeah.
Peter Thiel, yep.
Yeah.
And Peter Thiel is a very conservative guy. One of the.
Well, he's an interesting guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think he's gay too.
He is.
Oh, nice.
He's a gay billionaire conservative. You don't hear that too often. A gay billionaire conservative.
Well, that's why he's like he is gay. He's a conservative, but he has some like he's leftist on something. He's a weird dude, man. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe he's
really. He's the one who helped launch Facebook. He financed Facebook.
Oh wow.
Yep. Was he one of the guys that got ripped off by
Oh, the woman with the blood?
No, the guy that started Facebook.
No, that was the Winklevoss guys.
Lee, let me ask you, Lee. Best moment on YouTube since you started, worst moment?
Today.
And let's say today's the worst moment. So what's
I gotta hear the worst.
The worst moment.
Worst moment?
I think I know what that one is.
My worst moment is when my son showed up.
Okay.
You can't top that.
Yeah, it's rough.
Real
quick, and this was a different time now. And you're friends with Nadu, but not friends with Chris. I remember early on, because you gotta remember, I've been doing this a minute. Not that I'm anything special, I've just been doing this a minute. So I made all the mistakes or more mistakes before. But I know that you were on Chris FBS had Nadu on, and he just had you pop on, and you just fucking jumped down and through his throat out of nowhere. It was the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen.
What are you talking about?
So FBS had Nadu on, right?
The debate we had.
And they're chopping it up. They're chopping it up. And at this point, Lee and Jeff are at it, and he just had fucking Lee popped up. The screen was all the even size, and Lee was just goating him. Nadu, I love Jeff. We all love Jeff. Nadu kind of bit. It was that was fucking funny.
And then FBS's people started turning on him because Jeff was getting it so bad, and they felt like he was set up.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
But here's what happened.
It was a shitty move, but it was fucking funny.
But here's a real shitty move. And then about a month later, after he had a falling out with Nadu, Chris put it back on again and got another 4,000 views on it.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
my second favorite, and it has nothing to do with any of us, when Al exploded on that kid.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know if NB or if somebody could find that, I'll pay if somebody could find that.
I called that episode. I called it "Queer Eye for the Unbiased Guy."
I love Al. He came back. I would love to have Al on my show. Would love to interview him. Much respect that he's back, but it hurt.
Is he back?
Yeah, he launched a new show.
When?
Today, yesterday.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
One of the funniest moments I've seen that wasn't on this show is when MTR went on and the guy dropped his balls out. because MTR was like so shocked. It took him like about 20 seconds to remove it.
Here's my funny Lee story. So, we had the two different Rumbles in the Bronx, that like the two lives that we had, Vin and Joe, all that shit. So I think it was like the all-star cast. It was Tony Pizza, Lee Cole, Joe in the back, Vinny with me, FBS showed up, Damian Trites. It was so you and Damian are going at it, right? And Damian goes, "You're such a tough guy sitting in front of that computer." No, behind that computer. And Lee goes, "No, I'm not. I'm in front of the computer." And I was drunk. I was like, Jesus Christ. I said, I'm not in back of the computer. I'm in front of the no, I'm not in front of the computer. I'm in back of the computer. And like,
Well, you know what? Damien, he's not around here no more. He's getting his shit together. God bless
what
him.
happened to him?
He's getting his shit together. God bless him.
Good for him.
But one thing that was funny, the funniest line I think I ever had was when I was debating him, and he said to me, "Who the fuck are you? You have 2,000 people, 2,000 subs." And I said, "Well, that's 2,000 more people than ever showed up at your fight."
Oh. Joe, what's your Joe and Vinny? What's your guys' funniest?
Oh boy. Well, I have a few, and they all involve Joe. But I think that the funniest ever was, Al. How could you beat Al? When you say Al, it's like Pacino. How many artists, actors, if you say, "Oh, I love Al," in movies, you know who I'm talking about, right? Well, Al.
That was
Al.
That was Josie's show, I think, right?
He used to go. He used to look, and he'd go like this. He'd say, "Get that fucking guy out of here." And then but very calmly, then he'd do this and say, "So anyway."
we should do like, I know Lee won't do this, but we should do a bury the hatchet night where all the creators bring their best clip, and we just all jump on a live, and like Al, that would be some shit.
With these names, the stand-up, I can see why you have that big house in Jersey. Just coming out with these.
My house can fit in your house.
That's not true.
But that was some good shit. Joe, what was your funniest?
I really don't. It had to be that. Honestly, it was the Al thing. I was just talking about it.
What's his new show name so I can go look for it?
Hold on, I gotta check my history. Al for president, though. I will say that.
I love Al. Most misunderstood guy.
My favorite show was my first show. How about that?
Yeah.
The first show I did, because everybody, it was pretty cool. Everybody popped on for a minute,
The Straight Talker.
Is that what it's called? The Straight Talker?
Yeah.
So I commented. I said,
The Straight Drinker.
First coffee. And he responded. I said, Al, I need you on my
Excuse
show.
me, guys. Shut up.
I'm gunning for the exclusive.
That's great. The Straight
Let me ask you a question. If you can have I Laid On Tonight or Al, who would you have on?
I'd have Al.
I like.
Joe?
You be my bodyguard.
Who would you have on? I Laid or Al? Who would bring better numbers?
Al might be bringing up.
I gotta be honest. I would have Al on. I would have Josie find that teacher and have him. The kid was like a kid. He was like a teacher.
The first call, sponsored by Starbucks.
We gotta get Josie to look that video.
Well, I would have liked that Josie on today, but it was, but because of the thing with the wig last night, but Josie's the one that originally did that.
Wig?
So, yeah, when she came on with the blonde wig.
Oh,
yeah, and then, but last night FPS had a wig on.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had a Jeff Nadeau's wig on.
No way, he actually put a wig on?
He came on. That's Jeff Nadeau.
Like you don't fucking know. You're fucking.
No, I didn't.
Talking this.
Vinny had me set up 8
You
of his
gave
fake
him the
accounts.
fucking idea.
No, I didn't know about the wig. Now
Vinny had me set up 8 of his fake accounts. Like, come on.
Oh my
I
god!
go out to lunch with these guys. They all got fucking 3 enemies. The 3 other guys are listening to 3 different shows while I'm fucking trying to eat. They're gonna make me throw up. These fucking guys with that shit.
Oh, there's no doubt there's some witty motherfuckers on this thing. I mean, there's some funny
Yeah,
stuff
witty.
that goes on
Witty.
that, you know, especially when we get
Witty.
you know, especially when we get into these debates sometimes. I mean, some funny things are said and sometimes regretful things are said, but just some funny things said in these debates sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
But, you know what? Maybe we can, maybe we can, again, I don't know. Maybe try to find some common ground through comedy. I don't know.
So you know what happened the other day? No, a funny moment. This was a funny moment. So I was reading the Eastern European countries off my map, and I said,
oh my God,
I said Bulgaria for Bulgaria, and people were like, "He doesn't know how to say Bulgaria." Like, are you?
Yeah, we also said Romania too.
Yeah, Romania, exactly. Like, come on, man.
And you know who's easily the funniest guy in this, but the problem is he takes other things too far. If he didn't do this, it would be Tony, because Tony says some shit sometimes.
He comes up and tells me, you know who? BK Shallon. BK Shallon spits stuff out, and like he was on Chris's show one time recently, and I don't want to say because I don't want to get into the mix, but he said an insult, and to this day it hurts me when I think it was that funny. Like BK Shallon is like,
what did he say?
He said,
you brought it up already.
He says you look like a thumb with a face printed on it.
Oh, that was great.
Where did you get that from?
And Tom will know this. Ronald Reagan was not very good at debating. You know why he always won his debates? He always had one sentence in it that would win the debate. And that's what PK Shallon, that debate was very even, but that one sentence changed the whole thing. That one joke. You know, and if you watch Reagan debates, you know, one time Mondale said something about his age, and it was just like he came back with such a great remark about the age. Mondale was laughing hard at that moment.
Because that's the thing. Like, you know, with all due respect to Chris is, you know, we can say what we want about him. He's a capable debater. He's good at it. And you got BK, who's very sharp tongue, and they were like kind of battling. And, you know, like, to be honest, it would have been funny if, like, Chris, and again, I don't know if he has a sense of humor, but if he had a sense of humor about it and like laughed a little bit, that would have made it even funnier. Not even a bad way against him, but just to show that you have a little bit of levity to you, you know?
Yeah, but Sonny Money came in there and did a number on him too. So
what happened to him, by the way?
Oh, he's around, but you know, that's one thing about Sonny Money. People think he's some goofy kid, and yeah, he's goofy, but you know what? He's a lot smarter than people think he is.
Yeah.
You know, and just because people act a certain way doesn't mean they're not smart.
True.
We have quite a few smart people on here. To do these shows is not an easy thing, and Tom will tell you that. And you know, Vinny will tell you that. Vinny, like you when you took off in this, you loved it, and then it started beating the shit out of you. Would you say that? It's true.
I didn't want it to beat the shit out of me because I saw myself going into a dark place with getting really mad, and I don't want to get angry because then it affects my home life, how I deal with people, you know.
Well, that's why I respect Jeff Nadeau and one thing, Jeff Nadeau and Tom. They somehow don't get, like, I get pissed too easy.
I do too.
Whereas I noticed Jeff Nadeau's been getting beat up bad. He just doesn't say nothing.
Yeah, I only got one time I was pissed on your show because I got pushed, but I don't either because I've been doing this a minute and I've got called a lot worse shit.
Also, you got to remember, Tom and Jeff Nadeau have been doing this stuff a lot longer than Lee and myself and Joe.
Yeah.
Okay,
they went through their anger already, and they learned how to deal with it.
Guys, thank you so much for giving me 2 hours of your time, man. It's really
appreciated. Everybody. See you all soon.
Okay, you guys take care.
See you, Tom. Bye, Lee.
Bye, Joe.
Take care, guys.
Bye, Joe. I'll talk to you. I'll call you now.
Okay. Thanks, Lee. Have a good one.
Take care, man.
Okay, I'll figure this out.
Well, guys, I think that was a very interesting show. I hope everybody liked it. And if I didn't get to your remarks today, I wasn't really going for the remarks. Conversation started getting really good. this right here is my lab, and her name is Marley. And but I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, everybody. If you have not subbed, please sub. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all.